Is it possible to have an AI teacher who follows you everywhere you go, knows everything about you, and can teach you anything that you want to learn? Is that possible? The answer is no, it's not. Not today. But what is possible is to create an AI learning stack, putting AI tools together to achieve the same thing. In this video, I'm going to show you my 7-part AI learning stack, the most effective way to put the AI tools that we have today together to learn anything more effectively. And at the end, we'll go through how that fits into the learning loop, which is really important to understand if you want to learn effectively. If you haven't done so already, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Now let's get into it. First is unlimited real-time voice conversations. Now you can do this with ChatGPT Advanced Voice Mode. Not exactly unlimited, but if you have the paid plan, it's pretty close to that. You can use Grok, you can use Gemini, some way to have live conversations. To do what? Well, this is a big part of the output of learning, the practice, actually doing something with what you're learning. That might be in the form of conversations, debates, exercises, feedback sessions. There are all kinds of ways to practice using real-time live voice chats. And if you have a plan, if you know what you're doing, right, it can be essential as part of the learning loop. But that's the first part, to have some way to easily have real-time conversations. And whatever way you choose, maybe you can check out my other video comparing the 6 best voice modes. Whatever way you choose has to be pretty much unlimited, because if you're limited to 10 minutes a day, it's just not enough to practice as much as you need. Now, if you're thinking, well, what do I practice? Well, we'll get to that later on, because what to practice, right, and when to practice it is very important as well. Number 2 is GPTs. The thing that amazes me right now is that GPTs are kind of the only thing that do what they do. Gems from Google, they're not shareable, at least not right now. And whatever Anthropic is doing with Claude, what are they called? Projects? I'm not sure. But GPTs allow you to create a simple little mini program, kind of, that is prompted to do a specific thing. So if you're learning a language, that specific thing might be taking transcripts from YouTube videos and pulling out useful language, generating quizzes, for example, and you might have 2 different GPTs for each of those things. You might create one specifically to improve the quality of writing or give feedback on writing. You just paste in your text and you get detailed feedback on what you've written, or analyzing something that you've done. Have I used these words correctly? Am I applying this idea correctly? Right? A specific GPT for each thing that you're doing. So it's very specific. You put in the work to create instructions that actually work. And then once you've done that, well, you really only have to do it once. Then you just open it up and paste in the text or start a thing. You don't have to think about prompts all the time. That's the powerful thing about GPTs. They allow you to do a thing that you regularly need to do, repetitive tasks that you need to do, working on this, practicing this, memorizing that, diving into this kind of thing, right? Mastering vocabulary with examples and definitions. This is repetitive. I need to do this regularly. I don't want to have to think about the prompt every time. I just want to paste in a transcript or say, let's go, and start. And it takes a lot of the burden off of having to decide how am I going to do this every single time. So very effective, and I think there are going to be more and more things like this, but right now, GPTs are the best way to do it. I have hundreds of GPTs that I've created for things, and I can't believe more people don't talk about how great they are. Number 3, projects in ChatGPT or Notebook LM. If GPTs are a great way to do very specific repetitive things, projects are a great way to do long-term things that have a lot of context and background information, but may not be repetitive. I may do something totally different Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. The things I want to do may be totally different, but it's all tied back to one thing that I'm working on. I'm taking a specific course, and I want all of the information that I'm learning from that course connected to that one project. I'm creating something, I'm building something, I'm making something, I'm reading a book, and all of my notes from the book live in that project. I may need to do different things as I try to understand the book or write something based on the book, but it's a way to kind of keep things collected together, but most importantly, a way to interact with that context, that background information, which continuously grows over time, right? As I do this, as I do the things I need to do, those activities become part of the context of the project that I'm working on. So let's go to the course example. I'm taking a course. Every lesson that I do, I have notes. There may be assignments related to it, and I may want to expand on what I'm learning. So I'll add everything that's happening as I take that course, and then I may say generate an additional quiz, or I might do an assignment that I wasn't asked to do and get feedback on that. Or I might look for patterns in what I'm doing as I work on this course. Am I focusing enough on this area, or are there any trends in the things that I'm creating that I maybe haven't noticed that I should start focusing on more? For English learning, that might be, well, you seem to be avoiding grammar and just focusing on vocabulary in the practice that you're doing. So maybe you should spend a bit more time each week focusing on that so that it's more balanced. So it's really just this big bucket, but it's a smart bucket. It allows you to interact with it, and that is a very powerful way to keep information kind of organized. I'm walking back to my car because I'm getting devoured by mosquitoes, and it's very unpleasant. Number 4 is deep research. Now, most of the tools have deep research. Of course, ChatGPT does. Grok has deep research and deeper research. Google Gemini has deep research. Perplexity has deep research, which is pretty good. The basic idea here is deep research is powerful for uncovering things that you're not aware of in the area that you're trying to learn. That might be resources, tools you don't know about, practices and methods you don't know about, right? So you might do a research project on best ways to memorize something, or best ways to handle this kind of problem, or best phrases to use in these kinds of situations. That's one example. It's a great way to find real sources. So if you're trying to find a bunch of sources with reliable information, and information that's reliable is important, that's the best way to find it. You can do a big research project, get a bunch of different sources, have them organized into tables, and then put them into, for example, one of your projects or your notebook LM. So think of it like this. I know there are many things around what I'm learning that I don't even know about. Well, what are those things? Well, put that in the form of a question, put some specifics around it, and turn it into a research project. Collect that information, and then you know maybe what you need to do next. You know something you hadn't thought about before. You have new ideas for things to explore. Maybe what do people who are at my level do next? What are the next challenges that they face once they achieve this, right? So it's a great way to sort of cast a net out there into the ocean and find things that, hey, maybe I should be thinking about these things. Hey, maybe I can use these resources I didn't know about. A great way to get out of your comfort zone and a great way to find what you need to focus on next, right? It's very powerful. Number 5 is organization. I'm about back to the car. Organization is how you put stuff together in a way that's very quickly discoverable, findable. Now, I did mention projects and Notebook LM. Why not just use that? Well, that's a kind of organization, but it really serves more as a giant bucket that you can interact with, right? I mean organization that actually allows you to quickly find exactly what you need. So, notes for the course you're taking, for example. Specific things that you said about this page of this book or this chapter of this book. A diagram that you're trying to remember. And I don't want to tell you what the best way is, but you need some way to do that. A very good tool for this, and this is kind of blurring the lines, not exactly AI, but a good tool for this is Notion, because it's great at quickly adding information, and it's very good at organizing information. Once you learn how to use it and you get good at using it, even simple things like drop-downs can allow you to put a bunch of information in one place related to a subject. Again, going back to the course example. Or maybe you have a bunch of prompts that you like to use, and you put them into a prompt library, something like that, right? Maybe you get feedback sometimes from practice that you're doing with ChatGPT. And so you want to put that feedback somewhere because it gets lost in the chat history and it's not easy to find. So you put all of that feedback together. You make a system for yourself that works. You add everything that you're doing. You keep it organized. And yes, maybe you can also add that to your project or your Notebook LM, but it's kind of a different purpose, right? This is where I say, what did I do in that one assignment? Let me go look, right? The best way to do that is kind of a traditional note storing system, whether it's Notion or Apple Notes or Google Docs, or whatever you use. You need some way to keep things tidy. Now, if you're learning, you obviously need to remember stuff, and everyone has a different way to remember stuff, right? So maybe your way is just repetition, flashcards, Anki perhaps. Maybe your way is something like a memory palace. Maybe your way is just practicing with ChatGPT, right? Whatever your way is, think about how to take that and make it more effective, more powerful, more efficient using AI. I'll give you an example. For Anki, to create a bunch of flashcards based on notes that you're taking, quickly uploading pictures of it if it's handwritten notes, and asking it to be organized, and then put into a specific format to add to Anki is a great way to use something like ChatGPT. Or perhaps, if you're crazy like me and you like to use a memory palace, you might create memory palace images using ChatGPT, the image generation features of ChatGPT. So I'm trying to remember a word, I'm trying to remember a date or a specific fact. I will ask, in my memory palace, I'll ask ChatGPT to come up with a creative image that's very memorable that I can't forget. Then that'll stick in my mind basically forever. Once I see that, I remember all the information that I need. We're not going to get into the memory palace technique in this video, but you can use image generation to make things stick, and it is pretty effective, honestly. Number 7 is vibe coding. Vibe coding is basically, if you're not very skilled at coding or skilled at all, you can use tools like V0 or Claude. You can use Perplexity now. There are a lot of vibe coding tools. And I've done other videos on this, but the idea is to kind of just play around and create. And whatever you're doing, play around and create in ways that kind of help you get stuff done. A few ideas, for example, a habit tracker. I want to stay on track. I want to make sure I'm doing what I said I'm going to do. So build a very simple habit tracker in vibe coding that allows you to check off when you've completed things each week, or make a little grammar mini game that you can play, or words popping up on the screen to help you review words that you're trying to memorize, right? Or something to keep you on track. Just play around, look at what other people have created, come up with ideas. I think the creative part of learning, the exploratory part of learning, is part of the process. It's part of the review process, part of the reflection process. So those are the 7 key pieces. Now, how does this fit into the learning loop? Well, the learning loop is basically the circle that you go through when you learn something, when you really learn it. And all the things we've been talking about kind of naturally fit into it. The first part is input, taking information in, gathering information, doing deep research, finding something out that you didn't know before, watching a video from a course, reading a textbook, listening to a lecture. There are a million ways to take in information. This is input, right? Reading, watching, listening. And again, deep research can be a part of that, but traditional input like videos and courses, things like that, also part of input, obviously. Now, the second part is process. This is getting breakdowns, understanding, not just listening, but understanding. This is where those live interactions with ChatGPT can be very effective. It doesn't have to always be a voice chat. Sometimes just asking questions with text is just as effective, whatever you prefer, but kind of really understanding it, using tools like ChatGPT, just kind of trying to get your head around what you're learning, right? Then you do output. This is the third part. And output is creating stuff. So yes, that's having a voice chat with ChatGPT or Grok or Gemini. That's creating examples. That's doing math problems. That's doing stuff using what you learned. Doing stuff using what you learned. That's output. And that's extremely important. But I think a lot of people, when they're learning, they get focused on one or the other. They just want to do output. They just want to practice and not learn anything. Or they just want to learn and not practice. And it has to be both. So input, process, output, and then feedback. If all of your practice is flying off into the void and there's no feedback, that's crazy. You're never going to really improve if there's no feedback, because you don't know what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. And again, ChatGPT can be a great tool here. Gemini can be okay here. Grok can be pretty good here, right? Getting feedback on examples you create, sentences you write, things you build, again, whatever you're learning, getting some form of feedback is very important. And if you're doing that inside of a project or Notebook LM, for example, you can kind of do both. You're exploring, processing, and getting and doing output and feedback kind of all at the same time. That's okay. This is all part of the loop, right? Even if it happens in a kind of messy way, it doesn't have to exactly happen very clearly, step by step. And then the last one is review and reflection. And review and reflection could be, walking around looking at the clouds. It could also be doing some vibe coding to build something to help you do something or stay accountable. It could be getting help from a friend who's learning the same thing so that you hold each other accountable. It could be keeping a diary. It could be exploring casually using deep research to see if maybe you're missing anything, because you're thinking about maybe areas where you're not performing well. It's a very fuzzy kind of thing. I like to just call it walking around looking at clouds, because a lot of, I think, learning and improvement happens in the space between actual work being done, or the spaces that happen between doing something or watching something or reading something. That's where a lot of learning happens. So make sure to leave time for that. Give yourself space to reflect. Don't be too intense. It's better to be consistent over a long period of time than very intense and then you burn out. So that's it. Let me know if you're doing these things already for whatever you're learning, or maybe some parts have been missing, or how you do them using AI tools, maybe what your AI stack is. If you haven't done so already, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Get a free course in the links in the description, and check out the 90-day program. Speaking of the learning loop, it contains all of the parts, right? There's input, 50 hours of video courses, processing, understanding, breakdowns. If you need help, I'm right there on WhatsApp to help. Practicing, making examples, getting feedback from custom GPTs, practicing conversation skills. So it's all there. I guess deep research isn't really part of it, although maybe it will be someday. I'm always trying to make improvements to the program. So yeah, check out the 90-day program. You can get a free refund. Well, I guess all refunds are free, aren't they? You can get a refund at the end if you're not happy with your progress. And yeah, as I said, you get my WhatsApp as well if you need help along the way. So check that out. Links in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.